Hi, Janelle here with Sheep Hill Herbs. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to another video. If you're new, I'm so glad that you found me. And if you've been here before, thanks for coming back. Everyone, please like, subscribe, hit the bell button, comment, and check out my description down below. I have shortened my descriptions. There is a Linktree link, and that has all of my consolidated other links where they're basically things I recommend. Some of them are things I offer. For one, I am offering a 10-month Home Herbalist course that ends with a certification of completion, and that is set to begin in April, and it is rolling admissions, so you can enroll after April. You don't have to start at exactly April, but that is when it's going to be ready. And with that, I cover a different topic every month. You can either pick the mail version or the digital version for both versions. So you submit homework via email, and I'm requiring 2 class attendances a month, and they can be in person if you're local, or what I'm doing is I'm recording the class that I'm holding and putting it on YouTube. So if you are not local, you can watch the class on YouTube, and then you send me a review or like a summary of what you learned from that class. It has to be 300 plus words. And so last week I posted the Indian culinary herb video. It was an hour long. It was from the class. And that's one of the types of classes that you can send in for your summary review for the month. So it's 2 things for this course. It's the book work, the at-home work, the assignments, and then class, like watching video class time. And then you can correspond with me, ask questions, get any one-on-one feedback if you sign up for that. And I have the details in my Linktree, or you can message me and get those specific details. I have the whole course outlined. I can send you in an email. The costs, it is a monthly cost, or you can pay up front for the entire 10 months and get somewhat of a discount, a little discount. So this video is another one of my classes. It was planning your herb garden. That was the topic of the class. I think we planned and talked about other gardening things. I'm dividing this class into two different videos. The last video was an hour, and I thought, maybe it's better if I put 2 videos for the class so you can watch it in 2 parts. And so you can just watch this video. If you are one of my enrolled students, you can use this video for your summary. I will probably have 4 classes posted here a month, so you can pick 2 out of the 4 for homework assignment. You then can pick the 2 that interest you the most. So I have people right now working ahead for April, so they're doing the video summary now and taking care of that for April, for when we're set to start the coursework, the other bookwork portion. Okay, so this is my intro. When I click off of this, you're going to go right into the class, and it just starts with conversation. We're just having conversation, and so I hope you can just jump right in and listen. I wanted to share with you, this is not an herb garden book, but it is Rodale's Successful Organic Gardening Vegetable Book. And I will link this in the description. I love this book, even though it is not herb specific, but I've taken many, there goes some of my notes. I've taken many notes over the years and used their gardening tips successfully. And the reason why I like this is because I usually plant a vegetable garden and I pair my herbs with my vegetables, because the herbs can help keep away insects and bugs and keep your garden healthier. So that is why I use this kind of combo book. Again, Rodale. anything Rodale, and Rodale is in Pennsylvania where I am. So I will link this specifically like I said, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you do, comment, share, and come back for more videos. Bye.
I really want to be able to recognize the plant when I'm out and be able to, like if I was on a hike and I got stung by a bee, what would I grab to put on it? You know, or I'm on a hike and I'm feeling drained or something, and I just need a little something, and I'm like, oh, I can use that.
Yeah.
You know?
Fuzzy. Isn't that... I always think, like, that stuff is, like, boring. Not boring, but, like, you know, like, don't you... Doesn't everybody already know that? Because I don't want to teach something that seems like people already know. But, yeah. It's super helpful to know your plants, and like I wish I knew more.
I don't think people know plants.
They don't, and I even feel like I don't, and I'm like, I don't know enough. Like I want to know every single plant.
Okay.
But
yeah,
I don't know every plant. However, every year I learn more, and I do know a lot. But there are so many plants.
Yeah, it would be impossible to know all of them unless you lived in that area for a long time and you just knew. But because depending on where you are, there's different plants.
Yeah.
So but even just plants.
So you know plantain?
That's one of the ones I know, and I know we have a lot of it in our yard because there's just been so much agitation to the soil just from like construction and moving things around so much that and now that I know what it is, I know we have a lot of it, and I'm like, you can eat that.
Oh yeah.
And you can make a poultice out of it for bee stings or bug bites or pain. Right?
Pain.
Yeah, is that the one that you can boil down into a paste and actually make like eat it? I don't know, something like that. I could be wrong.
Well, a lot of plants that have starches boil down to paste, like roots. Okay. So I don't know, like it. I mean, whenever you evaporate off the water, it gets, like, thicker.
I feel like there was something about the stem when it's purple. That's plantain, right? Or is that a different plant?
I think it has like a purplish line stem in it.
Yeah. I feel like that was the plant somebody was
You probably... saying. I mean, I'm sure you've identified plantain. It gets like a stamen that comes up with little seeds. And you can eat the seeds, too.
Okay.
But, yeah, one year when I was pregnant, I got stung on my belly. I was out at the pool.
Oh my goodness. Ow.
It hurt, yeah. And I used plantain. You chew it up to get if you have a mortar and pestle on you, you can just do that. You don't have to chew it. But usually you don't. Yeah. So you chew it and then put it on your bee sting, and it does take away the pain really well.
So does onion. Raw onion, juicy onion. I've used that quite a few times.
I have not.
It actually worked for my daughter, so.
Yeah, there's a lot of plants. What was the one we talked about last week? And I'm like, I would not want to waste. Was it basil? I think it was basil.
You said you didn't want to waste.
I wouldn't waste my basil that way, but because I use plantain, chickweed, jewelweed. There's a lot in the summer, so I would not use my basil for a bug bite or a bee sting or something.
But other than plantain, and I mean, there's a few things I might know what it is, but I don't really know what anything else is if I'm walking.
Okay.
No idea.
Yeah. Well, I know, like, when I first didn't know anything, everything looks like a blur to me, like a blur of green.
Yeah. And
then when you start to get to know the plants, like, they do feel like friends, and like, oh yeah, like, when you or like, I know this might sound bad, so if you like have a family and they have like, a family of like 8 kids and you think their kids all look the same, you can't tell them apart.
Right.
Well, that's what it's kind of like. And then when you know them, like, you totally can tell them apart and who's who. And that's what I feel like. Then when you walk down the lane or, in the woods or whatever, you're like, they pop out.
Mm-hmm.
And are like totally aware of what this plant is, where before it was just like, they all just look green. They all look the same. I'm not, I can't tell the difference. So maybe what we'll do when the weather is nice and it's, for this class, this Thursday night class, like maybe once a month we should go out and do plants instead of sitting inside.
Yeah.
But I had this article here that was called The Reflections of an Herb Gardener. And I'm not going to read all of it, but there were some really cute little things she put in here, things of what she learned, and just like funny things about herb gardening. So one of them was, you're never really done weeding, and the best weeding tool is your hand. And then she lists different prices. Like even the $12.95 Weeding Wonder doesn't do as well, nor the $19.95 one or the $39.95 one. I don't know if I agree with that, but I think a good trowel helps with weeding. But I guess I've learned to like identify my weeds, and I just use them, and I don't really care about taking them away. Now, if you are growing your herb garden and so you want to make this pretty herb garden, which maybe we should finish, like let's say you put lavender in the center, and like dill gets its own quadrant, and then basil gets one, and thyme, and what else?
Cilantro,
and rosemary, and sage. I like to put nasturtium in mine.
Nasturtium.
And pot marigold or calendula. Well, partially because of the color, and I use the flowers as edibles. But so let's say you filled your circle, you have your planned garden. Now you want to see your herb garden grow, and the weeds that come up are fighting for space and nutrients and soil, and like you want to pick them because you want just like, I want my dill here, I don't want something else here. But I have such a hard time, like I think I'm not a baker and I'm not a gardener, because for baking I can't follow the ingredient, I can't follow a recipe. I'm like, I just cannot put that much sugar in that. I just cannot do it.
Yeah.
And like same with gardening, like my husband is an engineer, so we like gardened one time together, and it drove me crazy. Well, I drove him crazy, he drove me crazy, because everything was like lines and measured and like and you know what, it does look nice. And like all of my beautiful weeds, like he's like ripping out and stuff, but my garden like will look a mess. Like this.
So you don't like
doesn't
to pull
happen. I don't like, I have such a hard time, like if I have my vegetables and they're starting to get choked by the weeds, like I will pull them out. But I want to use my weeds. Like I love my weeds. Like I feel bad pulling them out. If I have to, they go in the compost. But a lot of them are edibles, like chickweed, lamb's quarters. I'm trying to think what else comes up. But I wanted to, the one year I was like, I want to identify all my weeds that are coming up in my garden, because I want to know, like, can I eat them?
Right.
and I don't want to waste them.
What's the deal with weeds?
That
If
is
they're
a
not
good
supposed to
question.
be there, then why are they there?
Yeah. Well, they say eat your weeds, and weeds, a lot of wild herbs or wild weeds are herbs.
Mm-hmm.
But I suppose the most tasty became cultivated and like perfected, because like there's purple dead nettle, and that grows like, it's a weed. It grows, I guess a weed is like pervasive. It grows everywhere, and it's so beautiful. And I mean, if you needed to forage and eat something like around our area,
it would be
everywhere. Purple. It's called purple dead nettle.
It's the purple flower. The purple flowers.
It gets like, it's not that high. The stem is purple. The leaves are purple. It gets these little purple flowers. It doesn't taste like anything.
Okay.
I cooked it.
I want to know what that is, so that I can be like, hey, that's it, and we can eat that.
It is nutritious. It is good for your body, but it doesn't have a great taste. I've cooked it with lots of garlic, which works, you know. So I guess what I know or think is that the weeds that were not like the most tasty ones, they were like weeds, and like, let's get rid of them. And then the ones that were like really delicious, like, we want them to have most of the space.
So it's just, so if we hated cilantro and mint, we would be like, that's a weed, get it out. But just because we like the way that they taste or smell, we're like, oh yay.
I guess that's my theory. I don't really have a...
So the purple, what do you call it again?
It's called purple dead nettle.
Purple dead nettle. That actually doesn't taste good, or it just doesn't have a taste?
It's very, very, very bland. And it's fuzzy.
Okay.
The leaves are fuzzy. That I will pull out of my garden. But I love my chickweed, so like, I'll juice the chickweed. I'll blender it and freeze the chickweed. I'll put it in salads. So, and chickweed has like a nice pleasant taste, but nothing like the aromatic culinary herbs are just so good. And I don't really know the history of plants. I would assume that maybe like the fruits and vegetables, they were cultivated to be even more fragrant. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, here's another little reflections of an herb gardener. Don't plant mints by other mints. They can cross-pollinate, and they compete with space. So that's where I was saying, give them big amounts of space.
So the spearmint and the mint could interfere with each other as well.
They can cross, it says here. So I guess they can make their new form.
It could all turn into one big thing of both.
Yeah.
Okay.
What else? Lemon balm will grow between the slats of a park bench. And so lemon balm, and we were talking about plantain. Plantain will grow like in the cracks of the sidewalk. And lemon balm, I have this like stony bed, like I hate to say we have the worst soil, because when we bought our property, it was fill. So it's really not soil. It was like wetland filled in a majority of it. And so I planted lemon balm in this like one really, really bad area, but it still grows.
Yeah.
And I try to like feed it and give it extra nutrients there. But I'm always amazed that the herbs will survive in even like the most bleak soils, it seems. Except basil really needs good soil and sun. Basil's kind of temperamental. And I don't know the history of basil, like how that plant evolved. So here, this is good advice. I kind of touched on this. It says start small. If you're going to do an herb garden, start small. Sometimes like you can like take on too big of a I mean, even like a pot, like a big pot at your front porch can be like perfect, and you'll probably have trouble keeping it watered.
Yeah,
because it's a lot of work to take care of plants. So start small. Keep a journal of what went where and why. This is a very good idea. And yeah, because sometimes like when you mark things, like, you know, use popsicle sticks, or you get the little markers from the greenhouse and you mark rows. Sometimes your kids move them or take them out, or I know I've even used like permanent marker and it washes away. So if you have a sketch, then you can refer to your sketch, because then you remember, like that will help you remember. Plans. Oh no, wait, here we go. This is written by this author, Jackie Johnson. She says, my first herb garden was going well when one day I was given close to 50 plants the night before I was to leave for a 4-day horse show. That meant most were planted in the dark, and towards the end it was like, just get in the ground anywhere. Flexible. That's what you need to be, flexible. So yeah, that like, I think that is a great piece of advice, because sometimes you start out with all these plans, and in the beginning it's like I'm always weeding and mulching and watering, and then somewhere along the way it just like, okay, just let it go.
Yeah, me too.
But you don't want to like, I don't like to waste what's growing there at all. I don't like to waste it. Any other thoughts, questions for herb gardening?
Do you start yours from seed typically?
I have almost every year, but I don't have a lot of success. I don't know if that's... I feel like it's still... Like, we always complain about our soil. And we bring in soil for our garden. I always seem to, like, do well with beets. The cold weather plants. They seem to come up. I guess I've done a mixture where, like, I've started them in the house, and then what happens is the stems get very leggy because they're reaching to get the sunlight. And so I haven't had good success if I start a plant in my house, because they get leggy. Putting seeds directly in the soil, it depends. Like, I would say I have maybe 50-60% success, because sometimes I guess animals eat the seeds, or you just lose them. This year, my last year garden was not good. Now, my herbs were okay, but I said to my kids, I'm like, we're just going to the greenhouse, to a good greenhouse, and getting like plants that are already big. Because unless you have like really good soil, really good like water system set in place, because I think that's the other thing. If you have a seed or if you put your seeds in, And like maybe you wouldn't have that trouble where you are because you have dampness, but they could rot.
Right.
For me, I can get super sunny, and so let's say the little sprouts come up and I didn't get to water, now they fry and they die. So if you have like a good watering system, you have good draining soil, you have sun, starting from seed, like my sister has all of those things and her garden grows awesome. But if you have like challenges, I feel like it's better to get a plant that's like already like sturdy and ready and already has some growth, because where we are, I get like maybe 50% success with my seeds.
Do you notice an increase year by year if your soil is getting any better just from having the garden?
No.
Okay.
I feel like not on its own. When I add compost, like then I do, but I think like in the Bible they had the Jubilee year, and the seventh year you let your garden fallow, and farmers do that. So like if I actually just let my garden do nothing and like didn't pick from it and just let it go for a whole year, it probably would. Yeah. But I don't do that. So I just always add compost. And then it seems to be fine. But like we have raised beds, and we do keep adding soil to our garden area because our regular soil isn't very
we have a lot of rocks too.
Yeah.
It's bad.
I know. I really want to like garden in a much better soil situation.
Yeah.
But yeah. Press pause.